Old Hollywood wasn't built on talent alone. Behind every star-studded premiere and studio contract were casting couches, backroom deals, and intimate relationships that decided who got the spotlight. The Golden Age operated on power, access, and favors exchanged in private. Some actresses climbed using pure ambition, others found patrons who opened doors, and a few married their way into empires. Today, we're exposing 15 divas who understood the game and played it ruthlessly. These weren't victims. They were strategists who leveraged every relationship to reach the top. 1. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford didn't wait for Hollywood to discover her. She danced in chorus lines, caught the eye of MGM executive Paul Byrne, and used that connection to land her first contract. But Byrne was just the beginning. Crawford became notorious for relationships with powerful men who could advance her career. She dated producer Harry Rapf, who pushed her into leading roles, and later had affairs with studio executives who ensured her films got premium budgets and releases. Crawford's rivalry with Bette Davis wasn't just about acting. It was about who controlled their own narrative. Crawford married 4 times, each union calculated to maintain her status. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. gave her social legitimacy. Franchot Tone provided intellectual credibility, and Philip Terry kept her relevant during wartime Hollywood. Her final marriage to Pepsi executive Alfred Steele transformed her into a corporate power player. Critics whispered about her methods, but Crawford never apologized. She understood that beauty faded, but influence lasted. By the time she won her Oscar for Mildred Pierce in 1945, she'd already secured her legacy through strategy, not luck. Her autobiography admitted she did whatever necessary to survive in a ruthless industry. Joan Crawford built an empire by recognizing that Hollywood rewarded those who played the game better than everyone else. 2. Lana Turner. Lana Turner's discovery story at Schwab's drugstore became Hollywood legend, but her real education came from studio mogul Louis B. Mayer. Turner was just 16 when MGM signed her, and Mayer took personal interest in shaping her image. She quickly learned that relationships with powerful men accelerated everything. Turner dated attorney Greg Bautzer, who represented Hollywood's elite and introduced her to executives who cast her in increasingly prominent roles. Her affair with director Mervyn LeRoy resulted in starring turns in films that showcased her as more than just a pretty face. Turner's 7 marriages kept her in headlines for decades. Bandleader Artie Shaw gave her sophistication, millionaire Bob Topping provided financial security, and Lex Barker offered scandal when their marriage imploded amid disturbing allegations. Her relationship with mobster Johnny Stompanato ended when her daughter stabbed him to death in 1958, creating the most sensational Hollywood murder trial of the era. Turner testified that Stompanato had threatened to disfigure her, revealing how dangerous her romantic choices had become. Despite the chaos, Turner remained bankable. Her role in Peyton Place earned an Oscar nomination and proved she could deliver serious performances. 3. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth was born Margarita Cancino, and her transformation into Hollywood royalty required powerful benefactors. Her first husband, Edward Judson, was 40 when he married the 18-year-old dancer. Judson wasn't in love, he was investing. He financed her makeover, including electrolysis to raise her hairline and create a more Anglo appearance. Judson introduced Rita to Columbia Pictures boss Harry Cohn, who became obsessed with her. Cohn controlled Rita's career completely, loaning her to other studios only when it benefited Columbia. Their relationship was complicated. Cohn was possessive and abusive, but he also made her the studio's biggest star. Hayworth's pinup photo became the most popular image of World War II, making her an international icon. Her marriage to Orson Welles brought artistic credibility, but Welles was controlling and unfaithful. Rita's next marriage to Prince Ali Khan shocked Hollywood. She became actual royalty and abandoned films temporarily. When that union collapsed, she returned to Hollywood diminished, no longer the goddess Cohn had crafted. Her later marriage to Dick Haymes was a disaster. He was broke and controlling. Hayworth spent her final years battling what was eventually diagnosed as Alzheimer's, dying largely forgotten. 4. Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr arrived in Hollywood as an exotic import after fleeing her controlling Austrian husband. MGM chief Louis B. Mayer saw her European film Ecstasy, which featured controversial scenes, and recognized her marketability. Mayer brought her to America and began reshaping her image from scandalous foreigner to sophisticated star. Lamarr understood that Mayer held her fate, and she cultivated his approval carefully. Her first Hollywood marriage to screenwriter Gene Markey brought industry connections, though it lasted barely a year. Lamarr's affair with billionaire Howard Hughes gave her access to his engineering labs, where she developed a frequency-hopping technology that later became the basis for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Hughes encouraged her scientific mind, but also enjoyed displaying her as arm candy at industry events. Lamarr married 6 times total, each husband offering something she needed: money, status, stability, or escape. Her relationship with producer William Loder resulted in children, but ended bitterly. Later marriages to restaurateur Ted Stauffer and lawyer Louis Boys were brief attempts at normalcy that failed. Despite her beauty and intelligence, Lamarr never achieved the career control she wanted. Studios used her as decoration in mediocre films while ignoring her ideas. 5. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner grew up dirt poor in North Carolina and knew Hollywood was her only escape. MGM discovered her through photographs and signed her immediately, then spent years teaching her to walk, talk, and behave like a star. Gardner's affair with billionaire Howard Hughes lasted years. He was obsessed with her and used his influence to ensure she got better roles. Hughes was controlling and paranoid, but he opened doors MGM hadn't bothered with. Gardner's marriage to Mickey Rooney was a publicity stunt that benefited both careers. Her second marriage to bandleader Artie Shaw gave her intellectual credibility. Shaw was known for dating beautiful women and molding them into sophisticates. But Gardner's most famous relationship was with Frank Sinatra. Their marriage was volcanic, filled with passion, jealousy, and mutual career sabotage. Sinatra was at his lowest point when they married, his career nearly finished. Gardner used her MGM connections to get him cast in From Here to Eternity, the role that resurrected his career and won him an Oscar. Ironically, as Sinatra rose, their marriage collapsed under the weight of his ego and her drinking. Gardner moved to Spain later in life, escaping Hollywood's judgment. She worked sporadically, but never compromised for roles she didn't want. 6. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe's story is Hollywood's darkest fairy tale. Born Norma Jean, she spent her childhood in foster homes and married at 16 to escape. When that marriage ended, she pursued modeling and caught the attention of 20th Century Fox talent scout Ben Lyon. But getting signed meant enduring the casting couch culture that defined 1940s Hollywood. Monroe reportedly had affairs with Columbia Pictures boss Harry Cohn and Fox executive Joseph Schenck, both men decades older who could greenlight her career. Schenck became her mentor and protector, ensuring she got roles even when directors dismissed her as dumb. Her marriage to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio brought mainstream fame but ended after 9 months. DiMaggio wanted a housewife. Monroe wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. Her next marriage to playwright Arthur Miller gave her intellectual legitimacy, but Miller eventually grew disgusted by Hollywood's treatment of her. Monroe's relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert became legend. Whether they were affairs or something darker remains debated. What's certain is that powerful men used Monroe, and she used them back, fighting for better contracts and roles. She studied at the actor's studio, proving she had talent beyond her image. But studios kept casting her as the dumb blonde because it made money. Monroe died at 36 under mysterious circumstances. 7. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow became Hollywood's first platinum blonde bombshell and one of its earliest cautionary tales. Discovered by producer Hal Roach, she was cast in Hell's Angels by Howard Hughes, who recognized her star quality. Hughes was notorious for controlling his actresses, and Harlow was no exception. Their working relationship was professional, but Hughes ensured she remained loyal to him. Harlow's first marriage to businessman Charles McGrew ended when her career took off, and he couldn't handle her fame. Her second marriage to MGM executive Paul Byrne was arranged to clean up her wild reputation. Byrne was twice her age and rumored to be impotent. 2 months after their wedding, Byrne was found dead, officially ruled self-harm, but surrounded by scandal. Rumors swirled that Harlow or her mother was involved, though nothing was proven. MGM's publicity machine worked overtime to protect Harlow's image. Her third marriage to cinematographer Harold Rawson lasted 8 months and was clearly another publicity move. Harlow's relationships with MGM boss Louis B. Mayer and producer David Selznick kept her employed during Hollywood's transition to sound. She became one of the studio's biggest earners, but her career was cut short when she died suddenly at 26 from kidney failure. Some blamed botched medical treatment. Others suggested her mother's Christian Science beliefs prevented proper care. Harlow's death shocked Hollywood and created conspiracy theories that persist today. 8. Clara Bow. Clara Bow was the original it girl, defining 1920s Hollywood with her wild energy and screen presence. Discovered through a magazine contest, she signed with Paramount Pictures and became their biggest star. But Bow's working-class Brooklyn background made her vulnerable in elite Hollywood circles. She had affairs with several leading men, including Gary Cooper and Gilbert Roland. Relationships that kept her name in gossip columns and her films profitable. Bow's relationship with director Victor Fleming was particularly important. He cast her in multiple films and helped shape her image. But Paramount boss B.P. Schulberg became her most significant protector. Schulberg managed her career and allegedly had an affair with her, though both denied it. When scandals emerged about Bow's personal life, including gambling debts and wild parties, Schulberg worked to contain the damage. Bow's secretary Daisy DeVoe eventually betrayed her, selling stories to tabloids about Bow's romantic exploits and lifestyle. The scandal damaged Bow's reputation permanently. She married cowboy actor Rex Bell and retired from Hollywood at just 28, exhausted by the pressure and judgment. Bow suffered mental health issues for the rest of her life, spending time in sanitariums. 9. Carole Lombard. Carole Lombard started in silent films and reinvented herself as screwball comedy's queen. Unlike many actresses, Lombard cultivated friendships with powerful men, rather than just romantic relationships. Her affair with Paramount boss William Powell began as romance, but evolved into a professional partnership that benefited both. Powell helped Lombard transition to talkies and connected her with directors who recognized her comedic timing. Lombard's friendship with MGM executive David Selznick was purely strategic. He cast her in Nothing Sacred and promoted her as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Her marriage to Clark Gable was Hollywood royalty. Both were at career peaks and their relationship seemed genuine. Lombard used her influence to help Gable's career, negotiating better contracts and selecting projects for him. She was known for her business savvy, often reading scripts and making deals herself rather than relying on agents. Lombard understood Hollywood's game, but refused to be victimized by it. She partied with executives, cursed like a sailor, and demanded respect. Directors loved working with her because she was professional and prepared. When she died in a plane crash at 33 while selling war bonds, Hollywood mourned genuinely. Lombard had managed to be both strategic and beloved, a rare combination. 10. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck rose from poverty to become one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, but her path required strategic relationships. Her marriage to vaudeville comedian Frank Fay gave her stage experience and connections, though Fay was abusive and tried to sabotage her film career out of jealousy. When Stanwyck left Fay, she was free to pursue Hollywood seriously. Her relationship with Columbia Pictures boss Harry Cohn was complicated. Cohn wanted to control her, but Stanwyck refused to be owned. Instead, she cultivated friendships with directors like Frank Capra, who cast her in multiple films and advocated for her. Stanwyck's marriage to actor Robert Taylor was Hollywood's golden couple for over a decade, but rumors about Taylor's sexuality made many believe the marriage was arranged for both their benefits. Stanwyck never confirmed or denied these theories, maintaining her privacy fiercely. Unlike other actresses, Stanwyck didn't rely on beauty alone. She chose tough, complex roles that showcased her range. Her relationship with producer Hal Wallace at Warner Brothers ensured she got quality scripts and creative control. Directors revered Stanwyck for her professionalism. She arrived prepared, hit her marks, and never complained. When she transitioned to television with The Big Valley, she proved her adaptability. Stanwyck earned 4 Oscar nominations, but never won, a fact that frustrated critics who considered her one of Hollywood's finest. 11. Veronica Lake. Veronica Lake became famous for her peekaboo hairstyle in film Noir Mystique, but her career was controlled entirely by Paramount Pictures. Studio boss Buddy DeSilva discovered her and crafted her image carefully, pairing her with Alan Ladd in multiple films. Lake's affair with director John Farrow resulted in a tumultuous marriage and 4 children, but Farrow was abusive and controlling. Lake also had relationships with Paramount executives who ensured she got leading roles despite being notoriously difficult on set. Her drinking problem began early and worsened throughout her career. Lake clashed with directors and co-stars, burning bridges faster than she could build them. When Paramount dropped her contract in 1948, no other studio would touch her. Lake's beauty faded quickly due to alcohol, and she ended up working as a bartender and hotel clerk. She attempted comebacks, but Hollywood had moved on. Lake's autobiography revealed the harsh reality behind her glamorous image, describing exploitation and abuse from men who controlled her career. 12. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge broke barriers as the first African-American woman nominated for a Best Actress Oscar, but her path was brutal. Hollywood's racism meant she had fewer options and less power than white actresses. Dandridge's relationship with director Otto Preminger gave her the role in Carmen Jones that made her famous. But Preminger was controlling and eventually destroyed her. He cast her in Porgy and Bess, but their affair ended bitterly, and Preminger used his industry power to limit her future opportunities. Dandridge's marriage to white restaurateur Jack Dennison was financially catastrophic. He squandered her money and left her bankrupt. Hollywood offered Dandridge only stereotypical roles after Carmen Jones, refusing to cast her opposite white leading men. She couldn't even stay at hotels where her films premiered due to segregation. Dandridge attempted nightclub performances to survive, but struggled with depression and debt. Her relationship with actor Peter Lawford brought brief happiness, but no career advancement. When she died of an overdose at 42, speculation swirled whether it was accidental or intentional. Critics later recognized that Hollywood had exploited Dandridge's talent and beauty while denying her the opportunities given to white actresses. She'd used relationships strategically because she had no other options. But the industry's racism ensured those relationships couldn't save her. 13. Gloria Swanson. Gloria Swanson defined silent film glamour and became one of Hollywood's first divas. Her relationship with Paramount producer Jesse Lasky launched her career, but her affair with director Cecil B. DeMille made her a superstar. DeMille cast her in 6 films and shaped her image as sophisticated and daring. Swanson's marriages were strategic. Her third husband, Marquis de la Falaise, gave her a title and European sophistication. Her fourth marriage to investor Michael Farmer provided financial backing for her independent film production company. Swanson's most significant relationship was with Joseph Kennedy, father of future President JFK. Kennedy financed her films and became her lover, promising to make her the biggest star in Hollywood. Instead, he mismanaged her money and left her nearly bankrupt. Their affair ended badly, with Swanson realizing Kennedy had used her for his own ambitions. She sued him but recovered little. Swanson's comeback in Sunset Boulevard was iconic, playing a faded silent film star desperate for relevance, a role that mirrored her own life. Critics praised her fearlessness in accepting such a meta role. Swanson continued acting sporadically, but focused on business ventures, including health food advocacy. She married 5 times total, each relationship serving a purpose in her career or survival. Unlike other actresses who faded quietly, Swanson remained visible and outspoken until her death at 84. 14. Jayne Mansfield. Jayne Mansfield was the 1950s answer to Marilyn Monroe, all curves and platinum hair. But her career was built on calculated publicity stunts and strategic relationships. Mansfield married her first husband, Paul Mansfield Young, using his name and their children to create a wholesome image. But when 20th Century Fox signed her, she began affairs with studio executives to secure better roles. Her relationship with producer David Weisbart resulted in starring roles, though Fox never quite knew what to do with her. Mansfield's marriage to bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay was perfect publicity. They toured nightclubs together and had 3 children. But Mansfield's career stalled as she was typecast as the dumb blonde. Her affair with her lawyer, Sam Brody, was destructive. He encouraged increasingly desperate publicity stunts to keep her relevant. Brody died alongside Mansfield in the infamous car accident that killed her at 34. Rumors persist about whether the crash was truly accidental. Mansfield had been performing at low-tier venues, her Hollywood career effectively over. Unlike Monroe, Mansfield lacked the vulnerability that made audiences protective. She seemed too aware of her own image, too willing to degrade herself for attention. Critics dismissed her as a Monroe knockoff, unfairly ignoring her comedic talent. Mansfield's children became famous themselves, particularly actress Mariska Hargitay. 15. Mae West. Mae West wrote her own rules, literally. She began in vaudeville writing her own material, often getting arrested for obscenity. When Paramount brought her to Hollywood in her late 30s, she was already a star on her terms. West wrote most of her own scripts, filled with double entendres that somehow passed censors. Her relationship with Paramount boss Adolph Zukor was respectful. He recognized her box office power and gave her creative control rare for actresses. West surrounded herself with younger male actors, including Cary Grant, whom she cast in multiple films. Rumors suggested she had affairs with many co-stars, but West kept her private life intensely private. She married vaudeville performer Frank Wallace Young, but kept the marriage secret for decades to maintain her single, available image. West didn't sleep her way to the top in the traditional sense. Instead, she controlled the narrative completely. Directors worked for her, not the other way around. When censorship tightened in the mid-1930s, West's career suffered because she refused to compromise her material. She returned to theater and nightclubs, performing her own work on her own terms. West made a comeback in her 70s with the film Myra Breckinridge, proving she remained relevant across generations. She died at 87, still writing and performing. Critics note that West succeeded by refusing to be controlled, making her unique among Golden Age actresses. She used her sexuality as power, but never surrendered it to men. So, there you have it. 15 divas who understood that Hollywood was a business transaction. Some were exploited, others were strategists, and many were both. The question is, were they victims of the system or architects of their own destinies? Could they have succeeded any other way in an industry that treated women as commodities? Drop your thoughts below. Do you think these women should be celebrated for their survival instincts or criticized for compromising? And here's the real question. If you had been born in that era with the same beauty and ambition, would you have played the game differently, or would you have done exactly what they did?